Earlier on Tuesday, football fans were treated to 8 thrilling matches across Europe as match day 2 from the UEFA Champions League kicked off. In an early kickoff on SportsMax 2, La Liga outfit Real Sociedad traveled to Austria to take on RB Salzburg. We have the highlights.
6, and we are underway. That's a good ball. Chance here. Here is Traore. Raise Mendes. Oyarzabal. Works the space. Oh! That is a sumptuous goal! And brimming with confidence. Little drop of the shoulder and just passes it into the back of the net. Too easy to make room for the space. And away go Real Sociedad, 2-on-1 here. It's Brace Mendes, he's going to go all alone, yes he is. A quick counter, and in the blink of an eye, in the end, decided to go for it himself, and it's paid off. Ran all the way from the halfway line, and they're on the move again with Bernashean. Delivers low, that could have been 3. Oyarzabal back with Terzic, flicked on by Pavlovic, it's Simic. Real Sociedad do enough to clear it, but it's back with Terzic, flicked on by Pavlovic, it's Simic. Loud claims, and eventually the referee points to the spot. A yellow card. He took a while to make the decision in the first place, you've got to say. So by stepping on the goalkeeper. Dedic with the cross. It was a dangerous one. Superb defending there. Oh, Pavlovic ran into traffic. Oyarzabal. Here's Fernandez. I want to do that. Terzic with another good ball in. Pavlovic. Here's Capaldo and Simic. Great persistence on a great turn. It's Pavlovic. And Capaldo. Sukic. A late flurry of chances for Salzburg.
Yeah, 2 first-half goals, which came 10 minutes apart, were enough to condemn RB Salzburg to their first defeat of this season's group stage, and Real Sociedad getting their first Champions League win in 20 years, their first 3-pointer in the Champions League in 14 matches. So a massive moment for the Spanish team in the UEFA Champions League. Brent Sancho is our football correspondent on duty today, and he joins us to recap the action. Brent, how are you doing? I hope you're well after yesterday's lively VAR discussions.
I'm always well, my friend. I'm looking forward to you adding those 3 points at the end of the season for Liverpool when they lose to Man City.
We're only adding 3 points for Real Sociedad, and it's because they deserve it with a 2-0 victory over RB Salzburg today. Talk to me about that performance. Important win for the Spanish team.
What a massive win, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Of course, away from a team that's in terrific form in RB Salzburg. It's a victory where, of course, the Spanish side was quite comfortable playing in transition. But what I liked about what they did today was their execution and their ability to obviously perform in the finishing end, in the business end, of course, which made things quite good for them.
Yeah. How good were Real Sociedad today, Brent? Their domestic form is reasonably good. They have lost only one of their La Liga games so far this season and currently in the top 5.
They were clinical, you know, and I think that's the thing that surprised it. I don't want to suggest by any stretch that that Salzburg went into this a bit overconfident because of the type of form they've been in. But you have to give Sociedad a lot of credit. What they were able to do, the way they went about their business, as I said, and the way they set themselves up. They're not necessarily a team with blistering pace around the park, but what they were clinical, they were efficient, they were very good defensively, dogged. That man in the picture there did exceptionally well, and throughout it was a really good performance, and it came from out of nowhere because as Ricardo rightfully said, they haven't had the best of times in the Champions League. Yes, they have done pretty okay in La Liga, but they have not lit La Liga on fire, and to come up with this sort of performance today is a true credit, of course, to Real Sociedad. I think the real question is, guys, can they kick on from here?
Yeah, the statistical analysis suggesting that Salzburg had 65 dangerous attacks to Real Sociedad's 56. So was it that Salzburg weren't as clinical as they needed to be in finishing, or were the Sociedad defenders solid?
I think you have to give credit to Sociedad. I think a lot of it is they were clinical. Yes, Salzburg look efficient through phase 1 and 2, but when they got into their final phases, I think they lacked a little bit of innovation and certainly lacked the same clinical approach that Real Sociedad had. And really, that's the difference in the game. Again, it's a result that really came out of nowhere. Because if you looked at all the results today, yes, of course, Manchester United lost, Arsenal lost, but to me, that Real Sociedad win is up there with those other results.
Yeah, very much the case, Brent. Of course, this happening in Group D of the competition. Inter Milan also had a victory by a 0-0 over Benfica. Marcus Thuram getting the winner in the 62nd minute. So Real Sociedad and Inter Milan both on 4 points. Real Sociedad leading the group now on goal difference with RB Salzburg in third position. They have 3 points, having won their opening game, and Benfica yet to get off the mark in Group D. Well, over in Group C, Spanish giants Real Madrid travelled to Naples to take on Italian side Napoli.
Napoli in the light blue and white, Real Madrid in the dark blue.
Gone a long period without scoring, but scored at the weekend. That's vitally important for his confidence.
And here come Real Madrid on the counter. And it was not a bad effort whatsoever by Rodrigo, parried away. Scalia with the corner ball, hooked along, out comes Kepa, got absolutely nowhere near it. It's off the bar and forced home from the rebound by Leo Estegard, and Napoli lead, and it has to go down there to Kepa Arrizabalaga on loan from Chelsea, the Real Madrid goalkeeper.
He completely misses it, Jonathan. He leaves his line, he's nowhere near it. It pops up, I think off a Nacho, onto the crossbar, and there is Østegård. Powerful header, powering it home.
Long trip for him recently for Uruguay, Ecuador away game. Osimhen. And that shot's deflected and just crept wide. Not just glancing back at him, but glaring back at him. But here's Bellingham from the defensive error, and he sets up here Vinicius Junior. 1-1.
The captain has made a really poor decision trying to play that ball into Lobotka, that Jude Bellingham punishes and delivers for Vinicius to score the equaliser.
Bellingham can cruise into space and still goes and still goes. Oh, that is absolutely magnificent. That is Jude Bellingham at his very, very best.
Draws defenders, skips past the challenge there, opens up the angle and side foot home. That is absolutely brilliant from Jude Bellingham. He's been receiving so many plaudits at the start of this season, but that is why. Wow.
Politano, this is where they are dangerous down the right-hand side. Looks for Osimhen, good save by Kepa.
But when you know you have a threat like that, Jonathan, coming, certainly as a centre-half, you might not be able to head it cleanly or clear it cleanly, but you have to have a physical contact with the centre-forward.
Zielinski, Osimhen. Running with him was Nacho.
Great
good
block.
Defensive work again.
It's actually hit his foot.
As he's sliding in, what's he going to give here? This is a massive moment, you know. But he's given a penalty.
I find that absolutely incredible.
Right-footed, in off the post. 2-2. I'm not too sure he can quite believe what happened there. Kvaratskhelia. Cut inside, wonderful, worthy effort. Looping corner, met in the air by Leo Westergaard. And hit by Valverde, it's an absolute bullet! It's a goal befitting of any great occasion, and this has been a fantastic occasion.
Then it hits him on the back of the head. There's the deflection, there's the crossbar, back and hits Merritt on the back of the head, shoulder. And Real Madrid back in the lead.
And out wide by Vestergaard. Kvaratskhelia has given us so many magical moments over the last 14 months. Little pop header on by Osimhen, and it was nearly an equaliser, so very, very late on.
Hard, but it's late and it's desperate times for Napoli to try and draw level, and the volley goes straight at Kepa, and that was the last action of the game.
What a game.
Absolutely amazing game.
Yeah, Real Madrid leaving Naples with all 3 points. They are firmly posted at the top of Group C in the UEFA Champions League. They have 6 points. Napoli and Braga both on 3 points. Braga getting a 3-2 win today as well over Union Berlin in that group. Brent Sancho is still with us. Brent Sancho, what a match that was, and what a win it was for Real Madrid.
Yeah, and you know what name I'm going to call? Jude Bellingham, because listen, I'm so impressed with what he's been able to do. I'm trying to, of course, think of what player he reminds me of. I'm thinking Patrick Vieira, I'm thinking Paul Scholes, I'm thinking all the top midfielders that have played football throughout this era. Zinedine Zidane, of course, with the number 5. The tactical decision to deploy him, I don't look at him as a false 9, Ricardo. I look at him as a false 10, because sometimes he gets to be the focal point of attack for Real Madrid. But more importantly, out of everything else, he's not only just a star for Real Madrid, he's become a leader.
Yes. Very
early already. He's already the man that they turn into to win football games. Very young in his career still. And of course, this is still his first season at Real Madrid. Tremendous, tremendous player. And, you know, I could only speak highly of him. As I said, a great result for Real Madrid. But again, I had to take this moment to continue my praises to Jude Bellingham.
I think it happened in the 52nd minute, Brent. I was almost shocked when it happened that Jude Bellingham got what was pretty close to an open goal. And for the form that he's been in, I thought he would have comfortably headed that one in, and he missed almost shockingly.
Yeah, and you know, for a player like him, he is human at the end of the day, surprisingly. But, you know, when Karim Benzema left, of course, and I can even probably go back when Cristiano Ronaldo left, you know, there were question marks on whether Benzema could be the focal point for Real Madrid, could be the goal getter. And he was able to, of course, stand up and be counted. Now the question marks came when Benzema left to go to Saudi Arabia. And now whether or not, would it be Vinny Jr. that steps up? But here comes Jude Bellingham, of course, with what he's been providing for them. I think the question is, and probably for everyone, is whether or not Jude Bellingham could score 30, 35 goals. Normally that's what you get from a top man in Real Madrid from the position he's playing in. That would be the question. I don't think anyone would try to doubt that is possible with the type of form he's in and the way that they're playing. But it would be really beautiful to see him reach that benchmark. Then, of course, conversations would be had about Ballon d'Or, etc., etc. Maybe I'm giving him the commentator's curse by saying that.
And Brent, what's for sure is when you look at how Jude Bellingham plays, you can see he really enjoys what he's doing. He does it with so much finesse, because I looked at that goal today and he was weaving himself through the opponents. And for me, that really, really stood out, because for some time, you know, when you look at players, I feel like they no longer have the joy of playing the game. Like, they play because, of course, they want to win matches. With Jude, a fresh face playing for Real Madrid, stepping into some big shoes, because when Karim Benzema left, as you said, a lot of pressure would be on the shoulders of the players, because that goal machine, once Karim Benzema was playing for you, you'd say you have a goal machine, you'd expect a certain number of goals per season. Jude comes into that setup and he's become the poster boy.
And listen, Mariah, in such a short space of time, I mean, I must admit, I was a bit nervous because when you play at the Bernabeu, when you play for Real Madrid, it's more than just a football club. It's more to people there. And a young man with a huge price tag, let's not forget that as well, a huge price tag coming in to this sort of situation. Even the likes of Vinny Jr., he struggled when he first came to Real Madrid. Now, of course, he is a genuine star for the club. We've seen it so many times.
Yes.
And I was a bit worried for him coming in. But you're right, he's playing with a level of confidence, a smile on his face, a joy in what he's doing. And one thing I've said this so many times in this program when I saw him play live, his footballing IQ is like something I've never seen before. I've been fortunate to play against and to see some of the top players in world football, whether it be past, present, or even the future in Jude's case. But I don't think I've ever seen a player with that high of football IQ as Jude Bellingham has.
Yeah, he's really become the leading man for Real Madrid. You touched on Vinicius Jr., and I want to give him his due as well. Just coming off an injury, many would say that, we'd give him some time to, of course, set himself up and do what we're accustomed to seeing him do. Vinicius Jr. comes back as well, and he opens the goal scoring for his team.
Yeah, I know. Look, I know it's very early, and I've been covering Champions League with SportsMax for a very, very long time, and I know it's not the right time to say, well, this team is going to win or that team's going to win. But I could go on record and say this much. If Jude Bellingham and Vinicius Jr. stay healthy, Real Madrid would be very tough to beat in the Champions League. And I do think they can wrap and do the double or even triple as it relates to La Liga, because the combination of those two, and remember, I used the word staying healthy throughout the season. The combination of those two in particular is something that is unplayable at times as it relates to what they do and what they bring to the team. And I just don't think there are many defenses in world football could stay with them. And as I said, if they do stay healthy throughout the season, they have a genuine opportunity of clinching the UEFA Champions League.
Brenda, I want to reignite a VAR discussion here because there was a VAR intervention today and a penalty given that looked a little dodgy from my end.
Little dodgy? That was never a penalty. You're being generous. And no, look, the VAR debate goes on. Of course, I'm not going to rehash what we said yesterday, but I think it's the inconsistencies, and I think that's probably where this discussion should start, because we talk about VAR, we've seen some given, we don't seen it given. I have no problem with the human element making a mistake. I understand that. But now you're starting to broach into the law of the game. And it is very understandable if your hands cannot move, if it's too close to you, then of course it could never be adjudged as an intentional handball or a handball with your hand in an unnatural position. I think that is well established since VAR has come out. But when you're seeing decisions being made with and now questioning whether the hand is natural and unnatural, that's why I start getting a bit flustered and concerned with the law, because I think that now delves into the interpretation of the law of the games. Again, I have no problem with human errors. Of course, what happened in Liverpool was a tragedy, but that was a human error. But when you start delving into the law of the game and interpret it in sometimes and not in other times, then that's why I have my qualms.
Yeah, is it generally a given that when the VAR panel calls or invites the referee over to have a look on the sidelines, they're pretty much telling him that he made an error and he needs to reverse it?
Yeah, and I think that's my concern, because and you're going down the right pathway, Lance, and I'll tell you why. Because at the end of the day, the referee on the field is the one that makes decision based on what he sees. Of course, utilizing the law of the game as a guidance to make decisions, because you have to make decisions based on your interpretation of the football game. Yes, there are laws that govern the game, but the interpretation and what you see with your eyes is also extremely important. When you're being called from somewhere else to have another look at it from a different perspective, different from what you interpreted, then that's when things start to get a bit murky, because then you start questioning your interpretation of what you saw. And I think that's where we're starting to get the struggle. And again, I go back to the fact of the law of the game, because he would have seen on the pitch that, well, that looked like a natural hand position for me, right? In terms of real speed, what he saw, what he's seen in the game, and I'm talking about the French referee in today's game. But once he's called out off the pitch, then he's been allowed to now have other interpretations of what they've seen. So then that's when the query starts. And I think that's where I start to struggle because, I mean, when you look at that decision, I really struggle to see how that's...
But Brent, isn't there also an intricacy with a handball situation like that, where if there's a ricochet and there's absolutely no opportunity for the player to respond, like to take his hand away, that should be considered?
And that goes back to interpretation, and that goes back to what the French referee first saw, because you're correct. He would have seen it in real time, hands there, ricochet back and forth, natural play of a football game. Yeah. But our good friends in the VAR studio would have seen it. Hold on a second. Here's a ball that is rebounded. There's a hand there. A ball hits a hand, so it's a penalty. So again, that is where I'm starting to get my concerns, because you're starting to move away from the letter of the law, because that was quite clear. I remember we had a long discussion, Lance, you were there with our good friend, Mr. Prendergast, about natural and unnatural hand positioning.
Yes.
And we accepted some of it. But when you start talking about ricochets, close proximity, and not being able to move your hand, then what is natural and what is unnatural, I'm starting to get a bit lost in it now.
Yeah, Brent Sancho, well, credit to Real Madrid that they were still able to come away with all 3 points, which is not very easy to do in Naples. It's the first time since 2017 that Napoli have lost in the UEFA Champions League at home. The last time 4-2 to Manchester City, and they would have gone some 13 matches unbeaten in the UEFA Champions League at home, and Real Madrid ending that today with the 3-2 victory. That's where we wrap up that discussion, but there is still so much more to come on the SportsMax Zone and with the UEFA Champions League as well, including Erik ten Hag's Manchester United losing by 3-2 against Galatasaray despite taking the lead twice. We'll be chatting about that after the break. Yeah, Real Madrid getting a big win in Naples against Napoli by 3-2. Manchester United and Arsenal not so fortunate. They both lose. Arsenal going down 2-1 to Lens, and Manchester United losing 3-2 to Galatasaray. And let's hear from Erik ten Hag. I think it is appropriate that we hear from the man in charge of Manchester United, a team that for the first time in their history have lost their opening 2 Champions League encounters.
But when I give explanation, then you will see excuses. So, and there are no excuses. Okay, maybe we have a little bit unbalanced left side, but then still we can't make the errors we now making, and we have to do better. And that's simple the fact. We have to win our games.
Coming in here and saying we need to do better, we're making mistakes, and then the next game it doesn't seem to improve and the mistakes keep coming.
No. So if it were the same mistakes, probably you could say, but I have seen a team that was really connected. I have seen a team with a great spirit, and they played in stages of the game fantastic, and scored good goals, twice up, we are totally in control on the game. And then all of a sudden we make a mistake, an error, and that I know football is a game of mistakes. But of course I have to give coaching instructions how we have to deal with such occasions and such situations. But it happens, and we got punished for it. Clear.
Yes, so much happened in that Manchester United Galatasaray game. Manchester United going down to 10 players, Casemiro getting a second yellow card, but the initial mistake was made by Andre Onana. Before all of that, Højlund scored 3 times for Manchester United, 1 rightly ruled out for offside, and Manchester United now bottom of Group A, yet to score a point. And there you're having a look at what happened on the infringement from Casemiro, really trying to bail out his goalkeeper who had made the initial mistake. Also, importantly, coming out of this contest is that the resulting penalty from this fall was missed by Icardi, who eventually got the winning goal for Galatasaray. Brent Sancho is still with us. Brent Sancho, since we have it on screen, let's start with Andre Onana and what a failure he has been since arriving at Old Trafford.
Yeah, well, failure is a strong word, Ricardo. I mean, use failure. I would say he's had a tough start to life at Manchester United, and it's always a difficult place to be a goalkeeper. I can call a bevy, and you're a United fan, a bevy of goalkeepers that have had disappointed times at Manchester United. I'm not questioning his talent at all, Ricardo. I think he is a good goalkeeper. I think he's terrific with his feet and can be good. Obviously, he's not playing with the confidence that he was playing with Inter Milan, so he will have question marks in what he does when he has the ball at his feet, hence the pass that he tried to make to Casemiro. That being said, yes, he can do better. He's been poor in his start so far. He can get better as a goalkeeper. Unfortunately for him, he's at a club like Manchester United who's not doing too well, and they are looking for people to point the fingers at. So it may just be a situation where he doesn't do too well and he may have to move on. I hope it doesn't, because I think he is a good shot stopper. But if he continues in the way he's going, his Manchester United career may not last quite long.
How would you sum up today's performance from Manchester United, especially against the background that they took the lead twice? Højlund scored a couple of goals, looked fabulous, and for a long time in that match you were seeing a lot of positives for Manchester United, and then it all came apart. They lost the lead first time after 6 minutes, after 4 minutes the second time around, and once they went down to 10 players, it became clearly Galatasaray's game to win, and they did win it, even though Icardi missed the penalty, but he stepped up to get the winner for them.
I'll try to use as short of phrases as I possible to sum it up. Individual madness and tactical naivety. Those are the two phrases I would use. So first of all, of course, the goals given up. Whether it's Dalot not being strong enough at the back, of course, the mistake by Onana, and of course, the experienced centre-halves in Lindelof and Rafael Varane allowing a straight header through the middle. And of course, Icardi coming and picking and scoring a goal. That is, at this level, you cannot do that, and that's exactly what transpired. And then on the next side of things, where they should have put the ball into the back of the net, and there were one or two opportunities that were poor. You can't move away, Ricardo, from the fact that some of their better players at Manchester United have also not started well. Yes, we have pinpointed Onana, the likes of Casemiro, who was solid as a rock for Manchester United, has really struggled so far for the start of the season. Marcus Rashford has been very, very poor. Rafael Varane has had injuries, stop-start hasn't been good enough, and I can go picking through. Of course, Christian Eriksen has struggled as well. So they've really had their top personnel, I would say, have not had the best of starts of season. Of course, Onana is a goalkeeper, so he's easy to point out. But I also think these other names should join him. Bruno Fernandes as well, I would add to that list.
Right, and Brent, I usually like the Manchester United supporters to do the questioning when it's about their team, but I'll chip in with this one. Erik ten Hag, of course, he was saying that he brought this down to mental errors. He says the mental errors we make, you cannot allow them at this level. You get punished. And he said, we're all in this together. Where does Manchester United and Erik ten Hag go from here?
Yeah, I know. You know, I saw a lot of reports and conversation about Ten Hag and whether or not he should be fired. That's crazy. I think Manchester. The last thing Manchester United needs is more instability. The club is trying to get back to some stable footing. They've changed a lot of different managers. There've been a lot of upheaval. You were seeing a little bit, of course, of settling within the Manchester United, especially from a playing side and the way they approach things, and a club culture side. They're starting to settle a bit. Of course, they've had a bump in the road here with a few bad performances. They have to try, and yeah, he's correct. There's a lot of mental and individual errors that cost them the game today. they have to cut it out. Sometimes in sport, when things are not going your way, they're genuinely not going your way. And I think that's where Manchester United are. They have to find ways to win football games, because that, what I just said, is not good enough for a team like Manchester United. You have to win football games. They have to find ways to win it.
Yes, Brent. And in Group A, they sit at the bottom of the table. Fourth spot, a goal difference of -1. No points, so Manchester United will need to get their ducks in a row.
Yeah, they do. And, you know, you look at it, and I still feel there's a bit of life left in that group. I don't think necessarily Galatasaray will run away. Couponing is not a team that should be worried. Of course, Bayern Munich is expected to run away with the group. I still feel with a turnaround of results, we've seen it before in this format of the competition in Champions League, where teams turn around their performances and get up the table. I think that can happen. But it really comes down, Mariah, to how Erik ten Hag manages his players moving forward. That side of it, I'm a little bit concerned. I'm looking how he's handled one or two situations. Not everything you can meet with brute force and, of course, with fire. He has to show a bit of finesse. He has to show some of his human side. But he's really going to have to work on the man management side to turn things around for Manchester United.
Yeah, well, Brent, you just mentioned that there's still a lot of football left to be played in the group, but if we look ahead to the teams that would advance out of the group, there is work to be done for Man U, because Galatasaray are second in the group at the moment now, behind Bayern Munich, and they're not a bad unit based on what we saw today. So the Man United team will have to recover and start winning from here, because they're still in the early stages of the group. Your quick thoughts on Galatasaray. In a domestic game in Turkey this past weekend, the Jamaican forward Ronaldo Sifa scored against them for his team, Ankaragücü. So they lost 2-1. Galatasaray won the match, but Sifa's had a goal there. Good to see him getting on the score sheet. But your quick thoughts on Galatasaray and their ability to maintain a top 2 spot in the group and eliminate Man U.
Yeah, I don't think at all, Lance, that they lit Old Trafford afire today. I think a lot of their success came from Manchester United's designs, and they were at fault for what they, you know, a lot of good what they did, they happened to them, came from the way Manchester United made mistakes. Moving forward, I do think it's a team, Lance, that Manchester United can get the better of in Turkey. Yes, they look solid, they had their moments, but I still see a little bit of rigidness, especially in the back. I'm not sure with David Sanchez and how he applies himself there. I'm not sure if Icardi is a forward that would, of course, score a great deal of goals there. So I do think there can be a result there for Manchester United, but they would certainly have to approach it with less mistakes and a lot sharper mindset to get the right results over there. It'll be a tough game.
Yeah, very much the case, Brent. Let's have a look at the full results from today's matches in the UEFA Champions League. Union Berlin losing to Braga 3-2, the final score there. Real Sociedad beating Salzburg by 2-0. Inter Milan 1-0 over Benfica. PSV and Sevilla 2-2. Copenhagen losing 2-1 to Bayern Munich. Manchester United losing to Galatasaray. Napoli losing to Real Madrid. So a number of home losses there. And Arsenal on the road losing to Lens, and disappointing result for Arsenal. They had taken a 14th minute lead from Gabriel Jesus, but not able to maintain the advantage, Brent. And after their emphatic start to UEFA Champions League, this is a disappointing result for Arsenal.
Yeah, you know, Ricardo, one of the things I was thinking when Arsenal approached the season, of course they finished second last season in the EPL and had a decent run. Whether or not they had the wherewithal to continue in that form that they had, and more importantly, and probably where I'm leading with this, the depth. I've always questioned whether or not Arsenal has the depth to perform on both sides of the coin. Of course, Champions League and the English Premier League. And already we are seeing that comes into question. Of course, Saka came off injured, I think, around the 33rd minute. And you start to question yourself. Gabriel Jesus is not really settled back into the groove that he had last season. Odegaard still coming to come as it relates to his performances. But they can't have that heavy rotation that you might see in other clubs that allows them to compete on both fronts. And I just wonder if they have the capabilities to perform on both fronts because of the lack of depth that Arsenal has. It was a poor performance today in the sense of the results and the way they went about losing that football game, on the heels, of course, of a bigger game to come on Sunday against Manchester City.
Yeah, very much the case, Brent. Thanks very much. Arsenal have played 9 UEFA Champions League matches in France now. This was the first time that they were tasting defeat in the UCL in France. So pretty disappointing for them. 2 draws and 6 wins in those matches as well. Thanks very much, Brent. We'll be chatting again, no doubt. Lots of football going around the world and so much of it on SportsMax. So we'll be catching up soon.
All right, guys. Have a great one.
Yeah, Brent Sancho, one of our international football correspondents, former Trinidad and Tobago international, joining us to break down the Champions League. Mariah Ramarak is smiling. I wonder if she'll still be smiling if City fail to win on Wednesday like they failed to do in the English Premier League at the weekend. We'll be back with more on the SportsMax Zone. Stay with us.
I really want to be that guy.